Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Life Law Fin. Now, this is the question. Do you enjoy studying at home or would you have preferred to be on campus in Trinidad?
Definitely in Trinidad. Definitely. Although being at home has its advantages for sure, being in a familiar space, I'm sure we can both relate. Being law school is very stressful, very stressful. And being around, for me, I know you can't relate because you've been in the UK, but for me, being around familiar spaces, familiar people, it really was a stress reliever. But I have a younger brother. He's 5 years old, and he was doing online school as well. So me trying to do my law school exams, and he's trying to do law school. His school schooling online at that time. It was confusion because I am doing school, my sister's doing school, my brother's doing school, my father's a teacher, so he's teaching online. Then my mother, she's working online fully as well. So just the home environment, it started to feel more like an office because everybody was cornered off into their own space, and it kind of took away from home being a getaway. I will say that that was a major disadvantage. So I will definitely say going to Trinidad, I would have preferred for the experience as well. I mean, that would have been me living on my own for the first time in a new country. Um, being able to sit in classrooms and actually see your tutors face to face and interact like that. And a lot of my tutors, they're very interactive people. So I could tell that they were suffering as well. So for me, I definitely would have preferred to go to Trinidad, but in the same breath, being home had its perks as well. So it's a balancing act for sure.
Definitely. You know what? It made me think of just now when you said so many people in your household were doing online, something online, working from
Yeah,
on. It means too that
yeah.
you need a really good broadband width because if everybody's
The
online,
girl,
somebody's gonna drop out if the broadband
listen,
is not strong
listen.
enough, you
I
know?
was so grateful to Hugh Wedding for the tutors were very understanding in that a lot I could tell you there were some days I couldn't get onto class at all, but that's when you have great classmates that will be able to fill you in. And we have an attendance thing, so our we wouldn't be able to do exams if we didn't attend 75% of our classes. And they note that by who signs into the Zooms. So sometimes you'll be knocked off out of something that's beyond your control. But luckily, our tutors were very, very, very kind in that regard because, like you said, sometimes you can't get home because there are four other people. Well, for me, four other people in my house who are trying to use the internet as well. So we ended up having to get me my own up here so that we wouldn't be competing and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. And those are things that all of a sudden you have to start thinking about when you went online. For me,
Yeah.
I was able to, the online thing is a blessing and a curse because I was able to have an extended Christmas vacation at home. So I came home for Christmas and I was able to stay until, when did I leave?
Mhm.
I left probably the end of February? Was it February? Sometime. But whatever it
Mhm.
was, it gave me probably
Yeah.
an extra 8 weeks at home. And the truth is, I was working from at home, but
Mhm.
my mom adjusted the internet and everything because it's a situation where you don't want to miss workshops. Sometimes, as we know, flow is giving
Mhm.
trouble and you were just dropping out for no reason. For no reason.
Dropping out, man.
Um, and fortunately your providers in the region so they understand they've worked with flow my providers in
Correct.
the region they don't know flow like that so it is a bit
You
more
don't really struggle.
challenging to explain why you would have been dropping out of an assessment you would have to probably postpone there are they
Mhm.
do listen and accommodate but obviously it's a bit more to explain because they don't live
Yeah.
my experience so they don't know
True,
necessarily
true.
what
Yeah.
it is. In terms of studying at home or at school, I think I was grateful
Mm-hmm.
for the fact that I could have stayed home a bit longer because the UK
Okay.
itself could become a bit overwhelming. I am
Hmm.
a West Indian, which means I feel like I'm a ball of sunshine. but
For sure.
but
Definitely.
the skies over here are usually very gray, especially in winter.
Oh dear.
So it can be
Hmm.
quite depressing. And as I said before, I have a friend, bless her, Christina. She said, I'm tired of being my own sunshine every single day. It's draining. No, seriously, I've never related to something anymore more.
I know, but yeah, that's an
So
excellent quote.
yeah, so I said to myself that in that regard it was great, but there is nothing like actually being in class, interacting
Definitely.
with your colleagues and tutor. So I mean they're both we got to learn from both of them, but I think in the end
Yeah.
people prefer their face to face classes so you
Yeah.
can get your
I
home
think
back.
Yeah, I think it's so crazy that I haven't actually sat in a classroom since, well, March 2020. Like that's insane to me. It's May 2021 and I haven't been in a classroom in over a year. So I'm not even sure if I will be able to. I think I may end up having to do both years online, which I'm very disappointed about seeing with how Trinidad is with their state of emergency right now with their spiking cases. It's not looking hopeful that I will get to go. So for me, I have to put myself in the mindset like, okay, Kristen, I have to do both years online. So I think that's a bit disheartening for me for sure at this point in time, not being able to go back into a classroom setting, especially for the advocacy classes, because you know, yeah.
Understand, and we won't get to use any more of our Zoom professional clothing where you have your suit on top and your pajamas.
Oh gosh, and your pajamas on bottom, correct. It's
You'll be completely suited up. Now,
true.
I know we're at the application stage, so definitely you've been exposed to the practical elements of the law. So
Hmm.
how was that for you? So how have you can you describe your experience doing practicing the same advocacy virtually?
It's very, very, very cool. I will say that because law traditionally has this view that is this stuffy profession and it's so staunch. But I was truly impressed with how we were able to adapt what we did in the courtroom and we were able to shift it to our online setting. So from my trial ad classes, we had court on Zoom. All the procedure was followed as usual, and it was a lot of fun. And I think it gave us a lot of opportunities to utilize the technology because when I had to present my case, because we all were given individual case briefs to present for the classes, my partners and I, my co-counsel and I, we were able to utilize the technology in terms of introducing evidence to the court, and I just thought it was a very cool experience. It is a bit detaching at times because obviously you would like to be there because especially when you're trying to cross-examine a witness, there's only so much you could cue in on online, and we know that those are all tactics that we use when we're, in court and so on and so forth. So I would definitely say it was a very cool experience. It had its cons for sure, but I definitely enjoyed it overall. At first, I was a bit skeptical about it because obviously it was a new thing. I didn't know how is this gonna work. Like, how are we gonna do court on Zoom? But we found a way, and that aspect was pretty fun in the end for sure.
Yeah, it sounds quite similar to my experience actually. We would have to get suited up because it was same
Correct.
thing applied.
Same rule.
Had to get suited up, and it was fun for me because some people may not know, but I was very big into the arts,
Mhm.
into theater
Yeah.
from before. So it was very fun to play a witness as well.
Yes, it was the
Um,
funnest thing ever. The funnest thing ever.
So I would get to play a witness, and I would get to be as disgusting as I want to be,
Facts.
obviously within within the parameters of being in court.
Correct.
I would get to be as difficult as I want to be, or as easy. We'd have a script, basically
Yeah.
telling us how we should behave. But also,
Mhm.
most importantly, a lot of the techniques were quite different as well virtually. I
Definitely.
did have an
Definitely.
experience to I did have the experience of comparing the face to face versus the virtual. And the face to face, you know that you have to use a you have to use a lot more, kind of, it's like your body language without
For
using
sure.
hands and stuff. People can judge, your questions more from your body language. Virtually, you have to really use your tones well, because
Definitely.
nobody's seeing you. Nobody
Yeah.
sees past here, so you really have to use your tones well, in order to really rope in the witness, as we would say, ring fence the witness before
Hmm.
really put those deadly questions to them, especially
Yeah.
if you're
Rope them in and then
yeah.
drop them. Yeah.
And
Sure.
I think that was interesting in and of itself, because people
Definitely.
think that advocacy, physical advocacy, when I say physical, face to face advocacy, is similar to virtual advocacy, but they demand slightly different skill sets.
Different techniques for sure.
And I would say I would say firsthand that even when you're preparing your examination in chief and your cross examination, I know that when some of us go into practice, because we were mostly on the virtual setting, you have to be cognizant that you are not heavily relying on your notes when
Yes.
you go in front of the court. You
I think that for me is gonna be the biggest transition because obviously I haven't had that experience,
Yeah,
unfortunately. So I definitely made it an effort like over this summer period to make sure that I practice, that skill and I massage that muscle essentially. So yeah, because law is like massaging the muscle. You gotta work it. You gotta, do what you gotta do
it's going to be difficult for all of us, because the
for
truth,
sure.
when you have a crutch, you will use it. So, because you will tell yourself, well, it's not really like anyone can see if I'm really looking at my points. I'm sure you can't
Hmm.
see if I'm looking at something right now. It would appear as though I'm looking at you. Do you understand what I
Yeah,
mean? But in terms of when we were in court, yes, you're allowed to have your bullet points, etc. But if you really want to engage the witness, you really can't be
can be walking about with cue cards in your hand. Can be,
like this.
cannot be.
you know so for me, I think most of us, the online posse, I should say, the online law school posse,
We
or
all like kids.
yeah, will have to adjust to face techniques,
For sure.
going into the traditional style of the law. No,
Hmm.
mental health and well-being always have been the buzzwords throughout COVID. So let's tackle
Mm.
one straight on. How have you been switching off? How have you been dealing, making sure that you maintain your mental health and your well-being?
Okay, well, I'm going to be fully transparent here. So for me, my mental health took a huge hit. Like it was really bad coming on to, I think, coming on to the end of the first half of the year, because just because, the workload is insane, it's something completely different adjusting. And then, like I said, my home wasn't really a home anymore. It was like office spaces with everybody doing their own thing. So I could never really switch off. I mean, I would try my best because, you would try to go out with friends, and even so, at some points you couldn't because COVID protocol. So you're stuck in your house, you can't do nothing really, and it's very difficult. So for me, mentally, it was a struggle for sure. But I'm very religious. I believe in God, and I definitely would not have made it through without putting everything on Him and letting Him, help me through that process. I have very supportive family members and friends, but sometimes there are some things you have to deal within yourself. You have to introspect and help yourself. So I think that experience dealing with the mental gymnastics of managing all this work, being isolated, trying to, have some semblance of a social life or a social interaction outside of your house was very challenging. And because my mental suffered, my physical also did suffer. Um, I was in and out to the doctors at one point at the beginning of the year. Um, but I think for me, it's just managing my stress levels. So I have to be more cognizant of how I manage like I said earlier, time management. You also, in terms of time managing for school, you have to also time manage for yourself and self care. Self care is imperative. I cannot stress it enough. You have the same way how you make sure your papers are well written, you have to make sure that you are well taken care of, because you can't write the papers if you are in the hospital, you know? So for me, it was definitely a journey, still is a journey. I just came off exams and I still haven't really been sleeping properly because my body's still charged from the adrenaline of it. But I definitely think that is being cognizant of the fact that you have to take personal responsibility to say, okay, Kristen, okay, Nia, I have to make sure I make time to take care of myself so that I can take care of my business, because the business can't get handled if you're not alive to do it. So yeah, that's what I will say.
uh, major truth, major truth there.
Yeah.
Definitely my mental health, I would say this course, it was really a weight, very
Hmm.
taxing. So I would definitely say that it was strained. I would say
Hmm.
strained, probably almost exhausted, to be honest. Um,
Hmm.
there were times where I felt like there was no escape. You're just within these four walls, constantly doing work. And when I'm not doing work, I'm eating. And at one point, because I like food, okay? So
Amen.
I like food. But
Amen.
what I started to do, which I recognized wasn't good, was I'd say, finish read this case or finish do part of this workshop before you eat. This time I'm hungry. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Nia, you cannot use
Cannot.
incentive as a food. Like food is an incentive to finish work.
For
So
sure.
I recognize that as well. And then what I used to do is eat while trying to do the work. So really and truly, I'm not even getting a break.
In there.
You know, I
Yeah.
after a
You
while I
kind of just
stopped
doing
doing
both at
that.
the same
Yeah,
time.
after a while I stopped doing that because really and truly I don't really get to switch off. And I found for
Yeah.
me this period, it was very, very difficult as well. As you heard me mention before, the weather in the UK can be quite depressing especially during those winter months. Thankfully we're going into the summer
Hmm.
months now, but I would say that it was an uphill battle. Very, very difficult. Thank God for my parents. Thank God for God.
Hmm.
Because
Amen. Amen.
many times that you have to sit and you have to pray and you need that to guide your introspection. I also started meditating as well
Sure.
because I recognized
Same.
I could not get rid of the stress. I couldn't. So
Yeah.
my happy place in my mind was the beach. Anybody that
Mm.
knows when I'm actually writing or analyzing a paper or doing any analytical tasks, anything with analytical
Hmm.
rigor, I have to have waves playing in the background. I can't play any other music, not classical music, nothing else does it for me but waves breaking. And the truth is, it sounds like
Yeah.
static to other people. It sounds like static.
For
It
me,
sounds
I use waves
static.
as well.
It's very
Yeah, but I
calming.
use waves. Yeah, it is. Well, actually, because I'm here, I'm home. I actually go to the beach and sit with my laptop and just go away with it sometimes.
That's very that's brilliant. And the truth is, when I'm at home, I probably go to the beach once or twice when I come to visit. So it's
It's
really shocking
yeah.
how much connection I really have to it because that is my happy place. If I really need to de-stress,
Hmm.
I will meditate and I will go to that place in my mind where it's just me on the beach by myself, head into a hammock,
Hmm.
listening to the waves.
I
that is
love that.
that is
I
what
love that.
yeah, that is what works for me. That's the truth. But mental health is, ongoing
Yeah.
challenges all the time.
I
And
wanted to add. I wanted to add something about something that happened to us here in Barbados. I'm sure most people are aware that the Lucifer volcano went off, and Barbados was covered in ash. And some of my classmates are Vincentian, who were like fully in it So I can't even imagine mentally what they were going through because that happened like right before our exam started, you know. So I just think that life is going to throw you so
Curve.
many unexpected things, especially when you're trying to achieve that goal that you set for yourself so many years ago. But you have to keep your head down and you have to figure out a way. I always say it is not this elaborate set of advice you could give somebody on mental health. You just have to find a way that works for you to figure it out, in my opinion.
No,
So yeah.
it is true, and I like the fact that you were saying, there will always be hurdles in life. That is a given, and I
Yeah.
recognize one of the things I needed to do was stop being so hard on myself because the good grades will not always come, and a lot of law students don't quite
True.
understand that good grades will not always.
Yeah.
There will
Yeah.
be turning points or learning curves, points where you need to stop, take stock, and reflect on what just happened. Why did I get this grade?
Hmm.
Without, beating yourself up, because that's basically what
Yeah.
I was
Thinking that at the end of
doing.
the
Like,
world.
why did you
Yeah.
why didn't you do better than this? Why is it
Like
just
how could I get this grade? Like this is not me.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course you take it personally. You
Yeah,
take
you
it
do, you do.
personally.
Especially when you know the work that you put in, because one thing I would say about law students, we work extremely hard.
Yeah.
So for a law student, when you get back a grade that you don't think, like sometimes you may get back, like we grade on A, B, C. So sometimes you may get back a B and you may say to yourself, you introspect, you say, okay, I can understand. But sometimes if you really think that you work to deserve a certain grade, you have to pull yourself out of the emotional aspect and say, okay, this is an opportunity to get better, to learn. What was it that I saw that my tutor did not see, or vice versa, so that you can use that experience to become a better lawyer? Because at the end of the day, is for you to maximize your ability to be the best advocate that you can be. So
It's
it's like taking yourself out of that and telling yourself you are not refined as yet. You're still in the building process, and there are going to be kinks in the way. Sometimes a block may fall off, but at the end of the day, you have to find a way to make sure that your foundation is stable. So when you do start your career, you could look back and be like, I remember when I did that in law school. And you could take that experience and use it going forward.
Yeah, brilliant. I agree. And the thing about it is, many of us always want to speak about our successes, but we do not speak about
Yeah.
our failures. Okay, and you need
Yeah.
failures in order to reach your success. You cannot get the perfect grade every single time. I learned that. I
True.
understand it now. And the truth is, it is
Mhm.
difficult to get to the reflection point when you're stuck in that emotional tornado, because there you
Yeah.
are, sitting in the eye, and you can't
Yeah.
this cloud of darkness. You can't shake it. And the
Yeah.
truth is, you start to self doubt creeps in, imposter syndrome creeps in. You wonder to yourself, was
That
it
is.
ever really good? Um, okay, I don't even know what to do to move forward. But
Mhm.
the truth is, you really need to build up the resilience, because there are more L's
For
to
sure.
come, and the L's aren't
You have
losses; they're learning
thick
learning
skin.
points. So
Thick skin. You have to build. You have to have thick skin in this profession, because There are going to be times when you present in class, and your tutor is going to tell you in front of all your classmates, all your colleagues, that was foolishness, and you can't take it personal, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make sure you become the best version of you, and you have to say, okay, why was this foolishness? Not instead of wallowing and saying, how you can say that was foolishness. Okay, why was this foolishness?
yeah,
Because you can't be going to do, because when we go in the real world, we deal with real people's lives, real people's interests. So you can't be talking foolishness on behalf of people's interests. One of my tutors actually funnily said, she said one time, she said, it is my job to protect the public from you,
agreed. I
in
understand.
terms, because she was like, because somebody was complaining about why they marked so hard, and she was like, we have to protect the wider public from you, because if not, chaos will ensue. So,
Yeah,
I always took that quote to heart for sure.
no, definitely. You have to take people's lives seriously. You have to respect the job. It's a serious job. So you have
Mhm.
to respect the process. That's the only thing that you can start to
Definitely.
take from it. You have to respect the process. Well, Kristen, it's been great having you on. This is
Thank
the
you.
this is the first time we've chatted in such a very long time, actually.
Years. Yeah.
Yeah, years, but it's been great. I enjoyed it myself, and I hope that the viewers enjoy it as well. It's been great content, and for those of you who haven't subscribed, please remember to subscribe to the channel. There'll be more content coming. Kristen, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's no problem. And for the rest of you, we'll see you on the next video. So you guys take care. See you.